It's actually pretty weird to think that the very thing which has historically caused the most debate among fans, Halo's multiplayer gameplay, seems to be the one thing that people aren't angry about. With Halo Infinite's multiplayer, it's actually everything except the gameplay which has created frustration within the community. From missing modes to lackluster customization and broken features, it's not a surprise fans are upset at the missed opportunity which Halo Infinite's first multiplayer season represents. Halo Infinite suffers from the same issues that have plagued many a game in this current upside-down world of the modern gaming era. Infinite launched as a fun, albeit content-light, title. Really, the main problem for me stems from many of the game's key community features being either bare bones or broken altogether. I'll give you an example of this. When I finish a match, if I were to go into theater mode and try to make a custom clip of some really cool moment I had, it wouldn't work, because theater mode refuses to save anything. It instead auto-deletes any files I try to bookmark or save in general. These files become lost permanently. I can never go back and access them at all. Now, you might ask, how does this affect my ability to play the game? Technically, it doesn't. It keeps me from wanting to play the game. Why should I get excited to play matches, knowing that no matter how good I do, I can never go back and craft some cool custom clips of anything that I just did? It literally takes away one of the coolest features that Halo has ever had. And simultaneously, it deletes any existence of my own accomplishments. Players should feel rewarded for the time they put into things, not punished. I like to memorialize my favorite moments and keep them so I can rewatch or show them to friends later. That's part of the social aspect of multiplayer gaming with Halo. Now, some watching might say, hey, what about just recording a game DVR clip or using a game capture device? You're right, I could do that. But theater mode is way more involved than a simple game DVR device. It affords you the ability to do things that are impossible to do with a simple recording tool. The problem with community features goes much deeper. With Forge getting delayed, Halo Infinite needed something to promote community engagement on a higher level than simply playing the standard modes. Given the theater mode is only working for some people, if at all, the burden then falls upon custom games to carry Halo Infinite's community engagement. Unfortunately, that doesn't work either, as people are unable to share their custom games with friends and other players. There is no server browser for custom game types, so even if you're allowed to save the game type you just created, people can't search for it. With no file share or browser system, making and sharing custom game modes is basically irrelevant. Well, that's if they actually worked in the first place. To add to this frustration is the realization that Halo Infinite's multiplayer launched on November 15th of last year. It is now March and we don't have any news on when theater or customs will be functional. 343, this might be a problem. Just saying. You know, the community features aren't the only things which have caused problems for players. Let's talk content. The maps the game launched with are mostly good in my opinion. I enjoy all of them. But this is not the case with everyone. So, when there are only 3 big team battle maps at launch and 7 arena maps, it can pose a serious problem for longevity. As such, I can completely understand why the number of maps is a current criticism. Because people can get tired of playing the same ones over and over again, especially if they don't like some of them. Did I personally want more maps? Yes, of course I did. But we can't change how the game launched. And I was hoping that we'd get at least one more BTB map or one more arena map in Season 1. But this does not appear to be happening. It's unfortunate to say the least. But remember everyone, it's okay because the game's free to play. Apparently, being free to play offers up an excuse for having the most lacking content launch in Halo franchise history. I don't want to seem aggressive because I understand that not everything in game development goes perfectly, and I applaud 343's effort to respond to community feedback and attempt to fix some of the game's issues. All I ask is they understand that, for us fans, it's hard to escape thinking about how so many of the problems could have been avoided by not changing fundamental aspects of Halo's multiplayer, like a progression system, being able to earn cosmetic rewards and armor instead of having to buy everything, and actually including social features that we've always had like pre-game lobbies and file share systems. Believe it or not, the list actually keeps going. Halo Infinite promised a 10-year journey for fans to embark on. 343 raved about how they had a big plan with a bold vision for Halo's multiplayer, and I'm sure they do. But right now, it looks like everything they're doing is just fixing things. These are fixes for changes they made to Halo, which the community immediately rejected and asked them to put back the way it was. Having a career page and a basic progression system should not have to be patched in many months later. But here we are, at present. It took more or less 3 months for the studio to even give us a proper update on what they're doing about fixes and what to look forward to in the future. Which, to me, that looks bad from an optics standpoint. Although there is a pretty good reason for this, which I'll touch on later. Look, I don't think it's too much to ask for 343 to start publishing a status report every few weeks, simply telling us what it is they're working on and what progress has been made. Perhaps that's what 343 is trying to do with the upcoming public-facing hot list. So at the very least, we can know what it is they're doing. At this point in time, calling your game a live service comes with expectations, because we've all seen and experienced games which are considered the standard for the live service model. At least for the good ones anyway, because we all know there's lots of bad ones. But if you want to be a good live service, you have to look to these examples. Games like Fortnite,
What is it, Peterson?
I'm not sure. I feel a disturbance.
Call of Duty, and even Destiny have set standards for what we, the players, consider a true live service. It's not an easy thing to craft and update a live service game while keeping your fanbase consistently happy season after season. Such a great endeavor requires respect and understanding of what makes each individual game a success. Now, given the nature of these franchises, I'll be looking specifically at Call of Duty and Destiny as they are the most comparable. Like Halo, there are several sub-communities buried within the larger fan bases that comprise these two games. Within Call of Duty, there are 3 distinct groups. Technically, there are some groups within these groups, but for simplicity's sake, we'll limit it to 3. The 3 main communities within Call of Duty are story-focused or campaign players, multiplayer enthusiasts, and zombie mode fans. With a Call of Duty live service, the developers are tasked with having to update both the multiplayer and zombies mode every season to add more things for everyone to engage with. Although I do feel like the story sections of the multiplayer seasons are more for people who enjoy the narrative of these games and want to see more story outside of the base campaign. So one could make the argument that these small story threads are designed to keep those players invested in the live service as well. However, this example of Call of Duty is only part of the puzzle. With a game like Destiny, you have players who prefer PvE modes like campaign, quests, and strike playlists. There are those who prefer multiplayer-focused offerings like Gambit and, the people who in general spend more time in Crucible. Not to mention there are clans dedicated to doing raids and mastering all the different difficulty levels and challenges associated with them. As way of using Destiny's live service as an example to provide understanding on Halo, let's look back to the beginning of Destiny's life cycle. When Destiny originally launched in 2014, it faced a lot of problems. But for many, it was a game in dire need of revitalization. Something which could bring a large portion of players back to the game who had left after they grew weary of the game's repetition and lack of content. I still credit the Taken King effectively saving the Destiny brand, while also setting a benchmark for what to expect from a Destiny story expansion. Taken King provided something for every sub-community to love and engage in. Well, minus people who like Gambit, of course, because that didn't exist at the time. There was an amazing new campaign, new location to explore, new strikes, new Crucible maps, and a brand new raid, King's Fall. The strength of Taken King as a content drop served as a soft relaunch for the game. This brought many old and new players back into the game who might not have otherwise. Oftentimes, it takes big content drops like this in order to satisfy your player base, in order to get them to believe in your vision again, because live service games are a constant struggle to prove yourself to the players on why they should keep investing their time and money into the product. When it comes to sub-communities, few games have the number Halo does. 343 needs to understand the importance of bringing content and features to the table, which will allow the various subcommunities to engage with the game the way they always have. So, what can we expect from Halo Infinite's immediate future? The rest of Season 1 is most likely going to remain in the status quo. That means we have to wait for at least 2 more months before getting any new content. I will say that this wait for Season 2's content won't negatively affect me specifically. Look, I've got a new Final Fantasy game coming out which will hold me over until then, Stranger of Paradise. But, since we're on the subject of Season 2, what is 343 bringing our way when the new season launches in May? For starters, we're getting new maps. 2 of them to be precise. Catalyst is our new arena map, and Breaker will be the new big team battle map. I was hoping for 4 maps, but 2 is serviceable. 343 has also promised 3 new modes, one of which is the return of King of the Hill. Finally! In addition, this new season will also have some story components to it, namely story-themed events, which will be discussed more by 343 in April. Campaign co-op has been set to drop sometime within Season 2, just not at launch. With this news, we're looking at a decent season, but one that still feels a little lackluster. My biggest issue with live service games is the model itself is based on an update structure that is very demanding. As we already know, one of the reasons Halo Infinite's content output has been so slow is due to 343 easing back into things post-launch to ensure the best environment for the developers. I totally get this. I'm sure no one would want the people working on the game to be putting their health and well-being in jeopardy, especially if that meant they were forced into crunch mode on a video game. However, to alleviate this problem, other live service games have support studios. These additional developers can help offset the burden and pressure the main dev team faces. By spreading out the content management, more can be done without the same level of development strain. Sadly, a healthy, content-rich live service game practically requires said support studio. Otherwise, the game will take a long time to feel like a complete product. Getting into a development rhythm can be very rough. It takes time. Clearly, this is what 343 is trying to do, but how long will it take them? How long before we start seeing many of the franchise's key features and modes? Currently, Forge is slated to arrive in Season 3. I can only imagine the variety of crazy things we'll see when that releases to the public. Hopefully, Forge releases on time and isn't plagued by a ton of bugs. But what about Season 3? What are the expectations we should set for that and beyond? If the game can manage to fill in the content gaps, which are currently keeping the subcommunities within Halo from actually engaging with Infinite, we will see Halo shine brightly once more. Even if it's not the biggest game ever, Halo Infinite can be lifted from mediocrity to excellence. How is this possible, you might ask? Well, remember earlier when I said a big content drop, in this case Taken King, helped Destiny effectively relaunch itself? Halo Infinite can do this too. By the end of this year, we need to see 343 release Forge, fix theater and custom games, bring back more fan-favorite social playlists, and introduce a file share system. With these, the Halo community can begin to rebuild itself around Halo Infinite. I firmly believe in the developers and their ability to produce something great, but there's no denying that the hill to climb is ever so steep. If, by some chance, this franchise can survive the obstacles ahead and make it to the top of the hill, will we see Halo crowned king once again? Live service games are more than a simple gamble. They require a trade-off, a sacrifice of either the developers or the players. This cost is a weight that someone must bear. At the end of the day, a live service is often measured more so by what it takes from people. In the case of the players, how much does it give back to people who invest time into it? In the case of the developers, how much strain and pressure must be endured to produce something that is considered a success? There's a reason why people roll their eyes when a sequel to something they love is said to be pursuing a live service model. There is some kind of inherent flaw which seems to corrupt it. Often, it is greed from a publisher seeking the vast amounts of profit that can be produced by such a game. Is it possible that the Halo franchise might discover a way to surpass the live service curse? can it truly provide a reliable and successful Halo service without the developers forced to make a sacrifice? This is the great question which lies ahead of 343 Industries, and with every great question comes a great journey for the answer. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys checking out this video. If you guys enjoyed it, I ask that you would consider liking and subscribing so you can see more content like this one, and don't forget to click the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on any new videos as soon as they drop. Thank you guys again, and have yourself a great day.